Right, the crowd are on their feet now. This has to be one of the best performances we've seen of the year. Only in the dying minutes will we ever see anything as great as this ever again. Oh, and it's a goal!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are from the world. And today I am joined by Donald Wine. Donald Wine in Washington, D.C. How are you, Donald?
I'm doing great, Nick. It's been a while. We were just talking before about us partying during Anzac Day back in 2017 when we had met before that online and then got to kind of see each other in person when I was over there in Sydney. It's great to see you again. And I mean, that was just a fun time that we had.
That was a fun time.
Doesn't feel like it was a decade ago.
No, it wasn't. Well, it was nine years ago.
So 9 years ago, yeah.
That was when I first came to faith in the MLS and my team Atlanta United. So yes, it's been a while. Donald, just explain just a brief outline who you are, what you do in soccer, and why you're interested in soccer in the first place.
Yeah, well, I've been involved in soccer since I was a kid, playing, watching the game, being a student of the game. At this point now, I've been a leader. I helped with the American Outlaws, which is the largest supporters group for the U.S. national teams. I'm in journalism. I have two blogs. One I'm a site manager of is called Stars and Stripes FC. It focuses on the U.S. men's and women's national teams, all the youth national teams as well, and just how the players coexist in the world of soccer. I also co-own the District Press, which focuses on the DC local teams here, DC United, DC Power, Washington Spirit, and Loudoun United. And then I also have podcasts. I have the USA Soccer Cast, which I'm wearing this nice little jersey. The USA Soccer Cast focuses in on American soccer with a key focus on the national teams. And then I also have a podcast called World of CONCACAF, which focuses on the greater confederation, all the region, focus on the Caribbean, the Central America, and North American soccer in that as well. So I keep my hands busy. I'm a fan, I'm an organizer, I'm a student of the game. I just love watching the game. So that's what fuels me.
Was there an early moment when you thought about soccer as a sport? You said, "Yeah, I can do this." Was it like when you were a kid or something? Where's that first early story for soccer for you?
I could not play American football here. I have a heart condition, so my doctor forbid it. Somehow he allowed me to play soccer, and so my parents were like, "You will play soccer." And I think, first of all, I really enjoyed the game, but it helps to be sort of good at it. And at my young age, I was better at it than a lot of kids. So that helped. So getting into the game was one thing, but accessibility has really increased over the decades that I've been watching. And I couldn't watch but maybe one Champions League game every 6 weeks. And now I can watch almost any match around the world. And so that's where, the seeds were planted in watching some of those teams play back in the day and some of those players. But now it's the accessibility that we have here in the United States, which we're very lucky to have the accessibility we have. We have more EPL games than they do in England. So we're able to watch a lot of teams. And from there, you get to just, you feel your passion grow about the game and the teams and players that you really like to watch.
Awesome, cool. So obviously 2026 is a big tournament year. So your role with Stars and Stripes, how is that looking day to day?
Well, right now it's starting to get a little bit thick because next week they will be announcing the U.S. men's national team roster, which obviously is the biggest roster announcement they've ever had. I would say just, those 26 guys, how lucky they're going to be able to represent the United States at this World Cup that's on home soil. And then it's all systems go. They have 2 send-off games in a couple of weeks, and then the games start. Everyone's here and everyone's kind of united and watching those games. And I really hope that people have a great time during this tournament. Hopefully some of your listeners are coming, and we want to show you a good time. That's what we're all about. I know there's a lot of stuff in the world going on, some of it good, some of it bad, some of it evil. but the World Cup has been one of those uniting factors around the world. The amount of people, the amount of friends that I have that I've met from watching World Cup games, being at World Cup games, is profound. And so I hope that is a lasting memory for people who do have the opportunity to enjoy these games.
Awesome, cool. And you would have you noticed a kind of shift in the fan base? I mean, are they really? They're looking forward, like you say, that you want to welcome the fans to the world. And it's that compared to previous years, obviously 2026 was that magical year when it's all going to start happening. You notice any change? They're being organized. The fans have been getting things organized during this year for the World Cup.
Yeah, I think, just the amount of, especially now that we're within this window, right? We're inside of a month. Now it's starting to really take focus. It's hard. It was easy enough to kind of, it's in a few months, it's in a couple months. But now that it's almost here, I think people are starting to realize, okay, here we go. Like, people are going to be here in a few weeks and this is going to get going. There's obviously going to be a lot of fan fests, not just the official ones, but other cities. I know here in Washington, D.C., they just announced the other day that they will be having their own fan fest, even though we don't have any matches here. So cities are starting to take advantage of it. I know bars and restaurants are already prepared for the influx of people who might not have a ticket to the game, but want to watch these games. Even some of the cities are expanding their hours of drinking. So you can, have a pint, almost 24 hours a day during this World Cup. So everything's starting to come into focus. And now that it is, I think all the little to-do things that are left on our list, we're starting to check them off pretty fast. But I think the excitement's starting to build with that.
Yeah, and you've been involved with Matchday experience before, and especially with the American Outlaws. So for someone who's never experienced it, what does a typical American Outlaws Matchday feel like?
Well, I think to start with it, you have to start the night before, because one thing that the American Outlaws was founded upon was bringing people together. It's about having a community wherever you are. And for a match, wherever that match is, whatever city it's in, one thing that didn't exist before was a way to meet fans the night before the game so you knew who you were going to cheer with during the game. So we created night before parties, and this was something that's been the staple of what we do about the organization part. That's where you can practice your chants. That's where you can meet fans from around the country and around the world. That's where opposing fans can come and say, hey, can we break bread with you before we start cheering against each other for 90 minutes? That's where it's cultivated in those night before parties. So we're going to have those for each and every game that the U.S. is in. And then the day of the game, we have a tailgate or a pregame of some sort. I don't know the specifics of what those pregames are going to be. Usually we're doing it in the parking lot of the stadiums, but as we know, the security perimeters are going to take a lot of that out or just make it cumbersome for us to upscale this and do our thing. So they'll be off site at some point, and then there'll be most likely, especially in Seattle, there'll be a march to the match through the streets to get to the stadiums. It's going to be a great time. It's not going to happen at every stadium. I would say for people that are going to games in New York, don't try to walk there. It's surrounded by highways that you can't cross by foot. Would not recommend with a car, much less a person. But I think the overall aspect of having these pregame meetups are going to be a thing throughout the World Cup, no matter where you're watching the games.
Okay, cool. Well, we are going to be talking about tailgates and marches in a minute, but I wanted to maybe just focus on your time at American Outlaws. So American Outlaws is a supporter group, right?
It is, yes. It's
maybe just give our listeners just a bit of an outline that when it first started. I think it was Lincoln, Nebraska. Was that right?
Yeah. So it was founded in Lincoln, Nebraska in 2007. And their first match was that they went to. They took a bus of guys from Lincoln, Nebraska to Chicago for a U.S.-Brazil match. It was September 9th, 2007. And they even got on TV. There was, a couple of people in blue in the stands going nuts during a portion of the game, and the broadcast showed them, and that's where it kind of took off. And even then, it was a slow build because they wanted to be organic in their approach. From city to city, they knew that every city is different. Just obviously, Nick, where you are, like Sydney is not Melbourne, Melbourne is not Perth. all of those communities could have a chapter of the American Outlaws, because while there's some structure to it, there's the ability for them to be organic in how they grow within their community. What works for us here in Washington, D.C. is not how they do it in New York. And I think the great thing is you get to trade those trials and tribulations with others. And at these night before parties is, hey, how does it work for you? What are we doing here that we could be doing better? You guys have grown so fast. How were you able to do that? What was your foundation? And that foundation is going to be different, but within that, they've been able to grow. They have well over 220 chapters now in the American Outlaws, including one in Mexico City and one in London, England. So even expats are getting involved in this, and we've tried to get some chapters established. Even in Australia, the time difference is a bit of an Achilles heel there, but also just the accessibility of the game on television. Not every U.S. game is on television, but the main point of the chapter is every single game, whether it's a men's or women's game, you have a place to go where you can watch the game with sound and have that community of people that are helping to grow support here in the United States.
And I went on the website, theamericanoutlaws.com, last night, and I see they've got chapters in pretty much every single state. I think the only state I couldn't find was Wyoming.
I know they're working on it, because I when I was involved heavily, we got inquiries from a couple of cities in Wyoming. It just, sometimes you got to get the foundation going, and it's hard to do that in some of these cities that are transient.
Yeah. But what is something fans don't see that takes a lot of work before kickoff, whether that's songs, timing, or organizing the section?
I think organization is the number one thing that people don't see, that they think just kind of comes together. They think people just show up and we hand out, drums and tell people, here's what we're going to do, and we just do it. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of coordination and a lot of willingness to fail. Because some of these, you have people who, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and then they don't show up. We have people who get called into work last minute, or they can make it last minute. They need a ticket. There's a lot of variables in putting together things. We run out of food sometimes. Sometimes we have too much food. Sometimes it pours and we have lightning, so we have to cancel things. And now what do we do, right? We have to be able to be flexible with some of these things. One of my favorite stories is a tailgate in Columbus one year for a women's game, where it started sleeting during the tailgate, and then all of a sudden derecho moved through, which brought 80-mile-an-hour winds and blew our tailgate away, our entire tailgate. So at a certain point, we said, we cannot do this anymore. We have to go to a bar. And thankfully, our chapter bar was around the corner. They said, come on through, guys. We'll open the doors and make sure everybody's able to get in and get out of the cold and get out of the wind and sleet. And we were able to have a great time and go on and enjoy the match. The match was cold, but I think people had that extra boost of energy by saying, hey, these guys were able to take care of us. We were able to figure out on the fly how to make this work and make it where everybody was able to have a great time at that game. And now it's a thing that when you look back on and laugh, and it's a thing you remember. I was at that game where the tailgate blew away. That's a thing that you can tell people as why this organization's so fun.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't have been fun at the time, but yeah, that's what creates those stories, isn't it?
Yes.
Memories and things. Going on to the supporter section, what are the small details that separate a good supporter section from a great one?
I think the willingness to contribute. I think when people recognize that there's a lot of different ways to get support for your team. A lot of people think you need 50 to 60 chants that all are sung in unison. You sing all of them, and people are doing it hand by hand. I am a big proponent of, if you don't know the words, that's great. Just clap. Clapping is the number one way to make noise in a stadium around the world. It's a ubiquitous language. Everyone knows it and everyone understands it. If I don't hear you and I just turn to you and start doing this, pretty soon you're either going, that dude over there looks stupid because he's just clapping at nobody, or you're going to join in. And either way, I'm going to have my fun, and I try to protrude that onto other people so they realize that it's fun to be loud and boisterous and support your team in the stand. So every section is different. Even if you're in the same city, a game in DC one time is going to be very different from the next game in DC because there's different people. There's different, not everyone's in the same spot or in the same seat. It's not like a club game where you can kind of build things because you know the person's going to be there week after week. It could be a year before you see somebody again. And so I think the idea is to create some structure while, again, having that flexibility to go, hey, we're up 6-0. Let's have some fun. Let's try a chant that nobody's done before and see if it works because everybody's having a great time. This might be something that keeps the party going. Other times when the team is down, you maybe lead on some of those chants that you know that the team likes because it helps them get back into the mind frame of, hey, we can come back and we can still get a result out of this thing. So, and we talk sometimes with the players, we talk with the team and the federation about what they like, what they don't like. Some of the chants that we do over and over, people go, why are you doing that so many times? Well, it's because the players came over to us one time and said, we love that chant. And when you do it, it feels like we have the energy to go score a goal. This is what our job is, right? So this is what we want them to do. So if that's going to help them every little bit, we'll sing a chant 80 times if we need to, because it's going to help them succeed. So in the end, it's about making people have fun and knowing that we're there to support the team. And I think for me, if one person comes up afterwards and says, I had a great time, I'm going to come bring my friends to this next time, we've won, because now that person is the person who's going to be me next match. They're introducing somebody to the game. They're helping them have a good time. And then it spreads exponentially from there.
Mm. So American Outlaws is loud and passionate, but also welcoming. So how do you balance those two things?
I think it's super easy. I mean, look, my first match, they were welcoming, right? And for me, that is a way to repay the debt of gratitude that I have for them being so warm and open and saying, hey, welcome to it. Like, they didn't know me at all, but they welcomed me. They said, hey, this is, we're happy to have you. Here's some food, meet some people, have a great time. If you have any questions, let us know. If you need some merch, we got some merch for you. Like, those little things can help make a first experience a great one. And so for me, that's always been about what I do. Even now that I'm no longer part of the board, that is what I like to do, because I want people to have as much fun as I'm having. It's super easy for me to have fun, and I want people to be able to do that, because that's what's going to grow the support. Because when that person goes back to wherever they are, wherever they live, they're going to be the ones that are seeking this out and trying to keep their community organized in the same way. And in turn, that'll help grow the fans in this game. So I always appreciate the fact that we are open and welcoming to people, whether it's their first game or if it's their 100th. They get the same level of expectation that, hey, I'm going to walk in here. I'm going to get some food. I'm going to meet some people from all around the country who are all, like-minded like me. They're passionate about this team, and we're going to go in there and have a great time. And when you know and understand that, it helps when you go into, quote unquote, when you go into battle, right? You walk into that stadium, in an opposing stadium, and you walk in and you know the person next to you is going to be cheering just as loud as you are. That makes it so much fun. It makes the intrigue, the mystery of it all so great. And so I always try to bring that in. And then this World Cup, that's what that part is about. The 94 World Cup shaped so many lives here in the United States. I want 2026 to do the same.
Yeah. So you have been part of the American Outlaws for quite some time. So has the culture changed since when you first joined?
Yeah, I mean, the culture's changed in the sense that there's more people. I think when people joined AO before, in the early years, a lot of them didn't know anything about soccer. And now the education level is so much higher because of MLS, because of the USL, because of the NWSL. So many fans already understand the game, and they understand how this national team kind of is comprised of all these little bits and pieces of all these different clubs. We have access to, as I mentioned, there's so many games from around the world. We get to see that, and we get to take, and people come to us and go, hey, I saw this chant that was done in Turkey. It sounds cool. If we can adapt some lyrics to it, can we try it? Right? Like those are things that can be questions now, as opposed to people walking in and literally are being handed a sheet. They're like, I don't know what's going on. Teach me this game. The amount of times in the early days that I had to teach people what soccer was, that was part of our deal is, hey, you say soccer is a boring game, come to the bar. My friend started what's called the free beer movement. He said, come to the bar, I'll buy your first beer and answer any questions that you want about the game as the game's going on. Promise you by the end of the game, you're going to have a great time and you're going to understand it a lot more. And because you understand it, you're going to want to learn more. We don't have to do that as much anymore. Sure, there's still some casuals that are going to get involved in this game with the World Cup, but the education level is so much higher because there's so much more soccer on television now. And it's been a part of, the general sports landscape for, so long that people now understand it a lot better. And when you understand it better, you're able to have a little bit more fun with it.
I have a similar experience in Aussie Rules Football in Melbourne. When I went to my first game, I didn't know anything about the game. And I was wearing a Guinness t-shirt back in 2003. And someone made a comment, and then I ended up being friends, and that person got me into the members area and explained for the first 10 minutes of the game exactly why there's, how do they start and how does everything work, and then he said to me, see that little white, very, very faint white door over there, like it was just a plain white door. He said, just knock on that door at halftime and we'll let you in. It was the members bar. So it was a great experience. And I look back on that with fond memories, So I guess when you say buy the person their first beer and explain the game to them, it's just that one-on-one real care and attention. So no, that's great.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask the last question about American Outlaws. What's your favorite American Outlaws tradition and how did it start?
The favorite tradition, that's a great question. I would say, there is, I wouldn't say it's a tradition, but it's definitely a moment. I think when my favorite game ever, in soccer was when the U.S. took on France in Paris in the 2019 Women's World Cup quarterfinal. It should have been the final. FIFA actually screwed up the scheduling. They changed the match, and because of that, France got flipped into that game, and it dominoed into the fact that they didn't make the Olympics and things like that because of the fact they flipped this one game just to set up this match in Paris when they should have set it up for that being the final, because I think that should have been. But walking into that game, we met up. We had our big march, and the French police, the Paris police, had us over and said, hey, we're going to shut down the streets for you. We had to, my friend had to sign some paperwork, like, hey, guarantee you're not going to cause any damage. And they wanted to meet up with the French supporters who we had grown to know and are friends with a lot of them and their leaders through the years. And so we were going to kind of meet up and march through the streets of Paris towards the Parc des Princes together. And somehow signals got crossed up and they didn't show up. And so the police turned to me and say, take the street. You have it. It's yours. And there's 10,000 Americans walking through Paris on the way to the stadium to face the home team. And the amount of people who came out of their buildings, out of their windows, and started clapping and cheering. Again, ahead of us facing their team, they were like, hey, y'all are doing something. And I still get chills thinking about walking in that stadium, being a part of that game, how epic it was. And afterwards, I busted out in tears afterwards because I was like, I can't believe that we were all a witness to that, this whole experience. And leaving the stadium, walking back to where our bus was, a few fans, one fan in particular in French, and I knew a little bit of French, and she's like, hey, American. And I turned around, I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to beat you. She's like, no, go get them. We're all behind you. What you guys have shown has been nothing but incredible. We love the fact that you guys are here. Go win the whole thing. And we're like, wow, hey, we're going to do our best. And just again, knowing that fan who didn't even go to the game, but just heard us, was like, hey, this is what it's about. And again, that's how you make those lasting memories. That's how you make friends in different parts of the world. I mean, soccer is what brought me to this podcast, right, to you, because we met years ago when you were just trying to figure out how to start an MLS supporters group 10,000 miles away from the team you're supporting. and we had nice chats about how to somehow make that work. And here you are. So I think those are the things that always stick with me. And that game, I mean, if I could watch that game, if I could relive that experience every single day for the rest of my life, I would do it. No questions asked. I would do that every single day for the rest of my life if I could.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Given the streets, it's almost like being given the keys of the city. Almost.
It was definitely the keys to the Porsche, and we didn't return it. So, I mean, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh man, that's good. Okay, so match day doesn't start off kickoff there, and so there's a huge tradition that happens outside the stadium called tailgates. So for our listeners that are not familiar with that, could you explain what a tailgate is in simple terms?
In simple terms, it's where people gather before going inside the stadium, and it's done in American football, it's done in soccer, it's done in a bunch of sports here in the United States, to a lesser extent in Canada and Mexico, but it's really, I mean, the root of the tailgate and its different forms is an American tradition. We have lots of food, lots of drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic. We have a lot of people will have their TV setups. Everyone's in their gear. You're walking around, you're kind of meeting, again, some of the fans that are there to watch the game that might be supporting your team. You might, again, have some playful banter with some of the opposing fans that are coming through. Again, it's a way to, it's another way of community here. And it's one of our most important traditions because of the community that it fosters. We've been tailgating for well over 100 years. Like, we have been doing this for a very long time. On the college level and the pro level, some of these tailgates are elaborate, and sometimes it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it just needs to be a couple of people with a little table and maybe a little small grill and some hot dogs. It doesn't have to be much. Or you could just sit there with a 12-pack of beer or a 24-pack of beer and just say, who would like to adopt us for the afternoon in their tailgate? And chances are you're going to find someone who says, come on over here, man. We got some food for you. Like, we got the TV going with all the other games. Have a great time. I think that is one thing that a lot of people, when they heard some reports that it was being banned, which turned out to be false, it may be restricted, surely, because of the security perimeters around the stadiums. But that is a quintessential, that is the one thing that we hope to be able to share with the world is, hey, before this game, you're not just going to march to the stadium and walk in. No, we're going to have a tailgate. We're going to have a way for you to again, meet people and have a great time. And then 20 minutes before kickoff is when people kind of pack up their tailgate, put it in their cars, and they walk into the stadium. I don't know how it happens on such a wide scale because it's a science to it sometimes, but it's one of those things that we hope in some form will be able to be displayed throughout this World Cup.
I've got a bit of I put a montage here.
Yeah,
of some things that happened during the tailgate. Now, I've got to thank three people for the photos. Reginald McKee, J.R. Francis, and Jennifer Taylor. They're all from Atlanta, so you'll see pretty much everyone dressed in red and black. But that's unashamedly okay. I don't mind promoting my team. The bottom center, a game called cornhole. That's what it's called, right?
It's called cornhole. And before it used to be called beanbag toss, but it's called cornhole now. It's now professional. It's a professional sport. You have a league here.
Wow.
It's just again, I don't know how this became a thing because growing up in the Midwest, that was a thing we did, but it wasn't like a centerpiece activity of a tailgate, and now it is. So it's just it's a lot of fun. It's played around the world now. People have their cornhole sets that may have paintings of like the field, or like in my case for college, like a basketball court or something like that. And the bean bags are properly themed, and it's a lot of fun. Again, it's not one that I partake in every time, but I can get down on some cornhole. I'm pretty decent at the thing.
Yeah. No, that was the first thing I remember looking at tailgate pictures, and I'm thinking, what on earth is that game? And I've played it since. I played it in July the 4th celebrations here in Sydney, but it's not as easy as it looks.
No, it's not.
it's a pretty hard thing. But obviously, we've got the pictures of the barbecue and the food, and people just coming together, dressed in. There's a guy there in an eagle and a typical Uncle Sam's top hat, and of course, we've got the DJ, the music aspect of it as well, which was given to me by Reginald from the Footy Mob supporters group. So there's a lot of activity going in. But say, for example, there's someone who's never been to tailgate before. What do you recommend them to do in the first 5 to 10 minutes? What obviously does that person, it might be a person by himself or herself, or with a family? What should they do? So they just walk in there, or do you recommend them just trying to meet the organizer?
So it's very simple for a tailgate like this, right? The ones that you're showing are massive tailgates that are clearly open to a lot of people. Now, I will say again, tailgates can vary in size. Like I said, you could tailgate by yourself, and people could come up and say, "Yo, man, can I join you?" And the answer would be yes. Like, you can build community that way. But for these big ones, it's literally just about showing up, introducing yourself to somebody, saying, "Hey, it's my first time here. What do you recommend we do?" And if it's your first tailgate ever in life, someone's going to show you the ropes. They're going to take you, get you some food. Some it's free, or you do donations. Some you may pay tickets ahead of time. It depends on how the setup is. I mean, if you're an adult and you want to bring some adult beverages, those are always welcome, because a lot of places can't hand do alcohol without a licensed bartender, which makes a lot of sense. So sometimes people just kind of, again, get some beer, and they show up and they say, "Hey, can we drink these with you guys?" The answer is going to be yes. Someone's going to break bread with you. Introduce yourself. Be willing to be uncomfortable for about 5 seconds. In that 5 seconds it takes to say, "Hey, I'm Donald. Nice to meet you. We're here from DC, and we're here to watch the game." Someone's going to introduce themselves, and all of a sudden you just made a new friend. And that friend's going to take you around and show you the ropes and make sure you have a good time. It's a very simple process for a tailgate. As elaborate as a setup it may be, the simple process is walk up, introduce yourself, have a good time, meet people, and if there's food, partake in the food, help out with the people who set it up, maybe with a few bucks here and there, and you're good to go. And it's going to be a great time. And I think that's the thing, is food is always going to be a congregator. Everyone's going to kind of revolve around food, and then the activities around it is going to be cool. Or you could just walk around. There's going to be hundreds of tailgates. You can walk around and find the one that you like and meet people from different tailgates and sample all the food if you want to. That's something that I like to do at some of these tailgates, is go around and, "Oh, you got hamburgers? Let me try a hamburger. You got a hot dog? I'll try a hot dog." Right? You got some beer? I got some beer for you. Like, those are things that you make a bunch of good friends. And sometimes you'll see those people in the stadium and you'll go, "Hey, that person had a great tailgate."
That's good, because I guess for a complete outsider, it could be something like, "Oh, that's their private party," or something like that. But just go up and ask and find out.
Yeah, it's
cool.
I will imagine it is intimidating to see, especially the top. You see like hundreds of people clearly all knowing each other, hanging out, having a good time, and you're just that one person going, how do I enter this? Again, that uncomfortable moment is going to take 5 seconds for you to introduce yourself and say, "Hey, I'm from DC. Where are you from?" And easy conversation starter. People are going to warm up to you and let you in, and all of a sudden you're going to be part of the tailgate. And someone's going to come up and do the same thing to you as if you are the established person at this tailgate, and you're going to turn around and welcome them in the same way.
Awesome. What do tailgates add to match day experience that you just don't get going straight into the stadium?
I think just the building of community, right? Again, the aspect of continuing to meet people from around the country. Again, people you're probably going to be standing next to in the stands that you may not know. I think it's also just a way to get excited. You see all the people walking around in your jerseys and your hats and the setups. You see so many people, again, passionate enough about the team that you're going to support, that they're putting on these elaborate tailgates. I think it's it helps you just get a sense of a wave of excitement about the game and saying, oh my goodness, all these people are here to watch the US team play. Like there's no way we're going to lose this game, right? Like you have that feeling build up within you. And then when you all march into the stadium together, that's when you start to get really amped to do what you want to do in the stands as far as support for your team.
Yeah. So I guess you've kind of explained it already, but what makes a great tailgate?
What makes a great tailgate? I think great food options. For me, hamburgers, hot dogs are the easy ones. Some people will do barbecues. Some people will do like roast a pig or something like that. Some people will have tacos. Great tacos are always good. And there's even some people who, especially for national team games, they may have food that ties into the opponent, right? So if we're playing Mexico, they'll have Mexican food. If we're playing Sweden, we'll have Swedish food, like Swedish meatballs or something. Like they'll have something kind of tying in, and that's a cool thing too, because again, it welcomes in outsiders. But a great tailgate is, have some food. If you have some drinks, that's cool. That doesn't make or break the tailgate, but it helps. And just a warm, positive attitude. It just having a smile on your face, and whenever somebody walks by, you might give them a, hey, USA, like just enough to make them understand, hey, we're on the same team here. Everybody's having a good time, and that person may come over and introduce themselves, or you may say, hey, we got plenty of food, man. Come on through. Have a good time. You got your buddies with you. Come on through. You got your kids with you. We have stickers for them to put on their jersey or something like that. Those little things just lower the barrier and make everyone feel like they are the same. They're all passionate. They're all fans. They're all ready to go in and support the team, and they're all about to have a great time.
What's one thing people should bring to their first tailgate?
What's one thing besides a smile? And again, just I would say patience, an ability to, again, react to things. Like if it rains, some people will tailgate in the rain. If it storms, some people stupidly do it in the storm. I'm stupid. Sometimes that happens. If I just told you a story about our tailgate blowing away, and we're like, okay, do we stay? And sometimes you got to make decisions, but having flexibility, but also I would say, again, bring positive spirits. If you have something to contribute to the tailgate, especially if you're going to one, whether that's food, whether that's drinks, whether that's ice. Ice is key because a lot of things need to be kept cold. And if you bring ice, ice can get you into a lot of places because people always run out. But I think the beer aspect of things, sure, if you want to bring some, that's great. Not everyone needs to partake in it, but just bring in something saying, hey, I got these sodas, or I got this, I got a few bags of chips. I didn't know if you needed anything, but we brought something to feel like we're contributing. That's going to get you in a lot of places, but you honestly don't need anything, right? You can say, hey, let me throw you a couple bucks because I know this costs a lot of money to get all this food. It's all about where you're going and how it's working. But I think a tailgate, just bringing your warm, positive attitude and bringing a willingness to meet people and have a great time, that's going to break down as many doors as any bottle of whiskey would.
Yeah, cool. No worries. Awesome. So from there, when the tailgate finishes up, then there's something that they call the march to the stadium. And, it's kind of, I guess, does it flow? Does everyone say, okay, it's time to pack up, and then slowly, bit by bit, people start to gather? How does that march?
Sometimes.
Does that form organically, or?
I would say sometimes it's organic and sometimes it's not. But a lot of times it's about maybe half an hour before if for American Outlaws, for example, we'll say, hey, we're going to be marching in at 5:30. Okay, great. So at around 4:30, I start telling people, hey, in about an hour, we're going to kind of gather around here and we're going to get ready to march in together. This is how you kind of build, again, a groundswell of support for the march. And we'll start giving reminders out 20 minutes out, 15 minutes out, 10 minutes out. If it's a place where you can you're in a parking lot, so you can kind of walk with your drinks, like, hey, we're about to march in about 10 minutes. So why don't you guys make sure you guys your cups are filled, because we're going to, march through the parking lot to the stadium, something like that. Then what we do normally is we bring people in at that time, whether it's 50 people, whether it's 1,000 people, no matter what, we kind of bring them in. We kind of do our own little pep talk to get people excited about what we're about to do, right? To go inside and cheer on our team. Maybe a couple of things about the game, thank the people who put on the tailgate, things like that. Get people motivated and excited. And then from there, we start chanting. We get a couple chants going again to get the voices warmed up. And then it's off and running. We're marching towards the stadium, and sometimes the marches are 5 minutes. Sometimes you're marching across the stadium essentially to the entry. Sometimes you have to march from a mile or two away because we're off site and we kind of have to march through the streets. And a lot of times for the World Cup, that's what's going to have to happen. And either way, it's just about somebody in the front, somebody in the middle, and somebody in the back, kind of making sure everyone's kept tight together and organizing all the chants that we're singing on the way to the stadium to let the world know that we're here. We're here to support our team, and we're here to have a good time.
Mm. And would you say the marching is just another bonding process for fans before actually getting into the stadium, I suppose?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a bonding experience. A lot of people want to be. I mean, one of our songs is, when the Yanks go marching in, I want to be in that number when the Yanks go marching in, right? Everyone wants to be a part of things that you see right here. They want to feel like, again, they're going to say, wow, that now I'm amped for this game. This was a great, great time. This march was awesome. The tailgate was awesome. The in-stadium experience was great. Those are the things that they go home and tell their friends and they tell their family about and say, hey, next time our team plays, whether it's your club team or your national team, we want to be a part of that. We want to come and have a good time. And the kids are going to love the march in because they're going to get to do all the chants and learn them all on the way inside so that they know what they're singing inside. So it's a great way to, again, bring people together. It's not even just your group. There's so many times where we're marching and other people are kind of walking towards the stadium and they see us and they join in. That's what it's all about. So our march of 100 people, by the time we get to the door, is actually 500 because so many people have decided they want to join in and march with us. And I think that's so much fun. And every club, every national team, every group does it differently. But the emphasis is the same about getting people together, marching in a visual wave of support to let people know, hey, we're about to go in here and we're about to be loud and boisterous and we're going to help our team win with our passion and with our support. Feel free to be a part of it. Feel free to join up.
What role does the drum play in keeping the energy going?
The drums? I mean, the drums are the heartbeat of any section. The drum beat of any song. You listen to any song, if you think about it, if you reduce all the songs to just that drum beat, everyone can feel it in their bones and feel that, again, that feeling they had when their favorite song. Everyone will know what that bass line is, what that drum line is, because that is the heartbeat. That's what keeps everything together, what keeps everyone going. It's not like we're marching with the drum beat. We're not step, step, step with the drum beat. But when we're doing the songs, that's what keeps us together. That's what keeps us focused. And that's why it's such an integral part of any section. Any band will tell you that, you have the melody, you have the brass, but the drums are what bring it together. If you don't have good drums, if you don't have a good drum beat, everything falls apart no matter how good it may be.
Yeah. No worries. You've been a capo for during, I think, was it during American Outlaws or just being a supporter? What does the capo actually do during a match?
So the capos are the people who lead the section or lead the march in the chants. They're the ones that are up front, in the middle, by the drums, wherever, but they're the ones that are starting the chants. They're the one that are kind of, again, keeping everybody together. They're trying to get everybody involved. But they're the ones that are kind of the conductors, if you will, of everything that's going on with regards to all the chanting that goes on.
Cool. What's the funniest thing that you've seen in the stands?
The funniest thing that I've seen in the stands. I don't know about funny, but I mean, there's just a lot of. Okay, I'll tell you. There was a funny one. This was again a women's game. It's happened a few times in the men's game too, but one that sticks out is Megan Rapinoe was on the ground, and we were singing this chant, and she just kind of she was on the ground. And I guess her legs were tangled up with another player. And she kind of took the person's leg and started using it as a guitar, and singing with us on the beat. And we were just, we were dying laughing. But we had started this chant because they were up 8-0 called "We Have the Ball," and we would just chant "We have the ball, we have the ball" whenever they were dribbling with it. But when we'd lose the ball, we would slow down and we go, "We lost the ball," and we would do that on beat. And we're sitting there, we're laughing to ourselves because we're like, we're up 8-0. Like, how do we keep people entertained here, and keep them focused on like, hey, let's keep the good times going. And after the game, one of the players came up to us and said, "The 'We Have the Ball' chant was the funniest thing we've ever heard." Like they had to clarify it. We're like, no, we're not making fun of you. We're actually just trying to, again, figure out how to maintain attention when you guys are blasting people like this. And they're dying. They're in fits. They're dying laughing. And they're saying that is so that those are the things that make you guys so great. That's that kind of creativity of just like figuring out how to, turn a game where people are tuned out because they're beating them so bad into something funny. And sure, we did it for a few more games. It kind of died out because they stopped beating people by 13 goals, which is good. That's the state of the game getting better. But those are things that, sometimes. Again, we do stuff because the players are like, this is fun or this is funny. We really enjoyed when you did that. We laughed at this antic that you guys did. That's what keeps everyone going. And if you have a sense of humor about things, again, you'll go a lot further. And just kind of figuring out like, hey, we're going to try something real quick. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But we got time, right? So those are the things that we love to do. And experimentation is a part of any process, and some will have you dying of laughter and some will be like, okay, we're never doing that again. That's fair. It didn't work. All good. So yeah,
cool. What's the hardest thing of leading a supporter section?
Being the only person doing a chant in some points, right? Like, it's hot, it's sticky, it's buggy. You definitely don't want to be up there doing the chant because you're dead tired. But you figure out a way to press on. And sometimes it was just me trying to mimic a whole section and just carry my voice so that other people could get a break. Cause they're looking at me like, Donald, I'm tired, man. I can't sing right now. I need a drink of water. I just need a breath. And so that is the hardest part is sometimes you're up there and it's just you. It's just you creating the sound and you're hoping somebody will sing with you. And sometimes it doesn't happen. So it's sometimes it's by design. Sometimes it's because people are just not responding to whatever chant it is. But you got to keep going in the hopes that they can pick it back up at a certain point. That's the hardest part. Sometimes you don't get to hang with your friends during the game and celebrate sometimes with goals. You're just up there sometimes by yourself. Out there for people to take, the flaws, right? And you're kind of the voice and the centerpiece of a section for a day. And so that's a lot of responsibility. But I think that is also the hardest part is sometimes it just feels like it's just you up there. And that's sometimes hard for people to deal with.
Yeah. What one word would you use to describe the US supporters right now?
The U.S. supporters, just climate.
Just the U.S. supporter. What's how would you describe a typical supporter of the U.S. men's national team?
I would say passionate's an easy word. I'm going to say educated. I think again, we consume more soccer than any other country, and just the amount of knowledge that people have in the sport now carries over into that passion. For the game. And I think that's where that is where I think we have evolved as a soccer nation is before most of the countries like that's a ball, that's a goal. But between that, I don't know. And now people can tell you who's, playing in, the third division of the Bundesliga and who's going up, what Americans are on that team. They're up at 3 a.m. to watch Gamba Osaka and some of the teams in the A-League, right? Like they're watching these games all course of the night to the point where sometimes like I got to go to bed. I can't be up here watching this game at 4 a.m. with you. I'm going to have to catch that on a replay. So those, again, the access has helped for the education, and I think it's made a more educated fan, which I think helps with the support.
Yeah. And in terms of the US men's team themselves, how would you describe them in a few words?
How would I describe it? Up and down. It's been an up and down couple of years, from not making it out of the group to Copa America to a point last fall where a lot of people were like, oh, we're back. We're back. We're going to do this thing. And then learning how to ride that wave of the ups and downs. And I mean, just thinking about 2022, where those guys came in and they got out the group and they were able to, get to the round of 16 at the time, and people walking into that game against the Netherlands were like, hey, in the first half, I know it's only 1-0 or whatever it was, like, but we had more chances. We should have scored. Like, this isn't a game that we got smoked. This is the game where we feel like we were the better team, but we weren't the elite team. The elite team takes advantage of one or two opportunities to score. We couldn't do that. And now we're like, okay, there's a lot more questions about what is this team going to do at this World Cup, with not just the new format, but also the increased pressure of being the co-hosts. That's something that no one can predict and no one can really mimic in the friendlies that we've had. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. You had a friendly last year, wasn't it, against Australia?
We did, yes. And I was it was a 2-1 win for the US. We also played Paraguay in a month later. We also played Turkey last year. So in the last 6 months of 2025, we got to play our whole group, which I think, again,
there's something dodgy there. There's something.
Yeah. Well,
you must have learned something.
A funny thing is, when we got the group draw, and I was at the draw, I was here in DC, and when we got the draw, everyone's kind of like, well, that's a decent draw considering they just played these teams. And I know a lot of my friends were like, I wish we got different teams because we just saw these teams. Like, we want to see, the World Cup's about seeing new teams and how we stack up against them, and some of the better teams that we stack up in. And we have 3 teams that we just saw. So in that point of time, people were like, yeah, this is cool, but there's like 48 teams here. We couldn't get one team that we haven't seen in the last month. But now I think people are more excited about the fact that we're facing these teams. And again, the players will tell you this too, that the World Cup games are going to be vastly different from how we approach those friendlies. So we're expecting a much more competitive game from all 3 teams in the group.
What's the biggest question you still have about the team going into the World Cup?
Are they ready for prime time? Are they ready for the lights and the pressure? Are they ready to? It's unfair to say that they have to play like a team that people can look at and say this team can win the World Cup, because we've never done that on the men's side. But that's the kind of pressure that they're going to be facing, not necessarily from the people who go to games all the time, but from those casuals and from those new fans who are turning on the World Cup for the first time because we're hosting it. That is where people are going to be like, it's like the Olympics for us every 4 years. Every 4 years, everyone is a figure skating expert. Everyone knows gymnastics. And when people mess up just the toe loop, you're all of a sudden like, I can't deal, right? So I think that pressure is something that this team, again, that can't be mimicked. And every team who hosts the World Cup has that pressure. And now us, Canada, Mexico, we have that pressure now. Can our guys live up to it is the question.
Adding this fella here, how do you think Pochettino has shaped the team so far?
It's been interesting because he's tried a couple different formations. He's brought in some new players. He's tried to change the culture of the team, while also kind of viewing this in a way as a temporary position, right? He's just feels like he's just here to get us through the World Cup, and then a lot of us expect him, because his contract, I believe, expires after World Cup. Short of us winning the whole thing, it feels like afterwards he's going to go to a new challenge. And I think because of that, he's like, hey, I don't have time to make friends. I don't have time to figure out what's always been done. I just got to do things my way, and I got to figure out what these pieces are. And that includes changing it up sometimes and bringing some new faces in, changing the formation. And so in that regard, I feel like these guys are ready for anything. And I think what we value in the United States for an athlete is versatility, but sometimes in soccer that's viewed as a 4-letter word. People want the guy who can play left back to play left back. They want the guy at center back to be a center back. They don't need the guy at right back to also be left wing and be a midfielder and be a striker. But we've kind of figured out that we have some guys that can do that sort of thing. And that, again, creates kind of mystique of what he's going to ultimately go with for, especially for these first 3 games, these grouped games in the World Cup. It's a big question mark. I think we'll get the answer in his roster announcement and some of the guys he's hoping to bring. And also in these 2 send-off matches against Senegal and Germany, that's going to be where we kind of start, at least for us fans, go, okay, this is what he's looking to do in these World Cup games. Will it work? And so I think for him, it's about figuring out what he ultimately is going to go with, because we've seen so much over the last, year plus from him, because he's been trying a lot of things out and trying a lot of players out. So I'm really curious to see who he ultimately goes with and what formations he sticks with.
Yeah. So in a World Cup, is it more important to have one clear plan or to be able to adapt game by game?
That's a great question. It's a great thing I'm not a coach because I don't have to necessarily answer that for the players. But I will say I like the fact of having a plan that can account for variable change. If you have your formation and one of your players gets a red card or gets hurt, or you have to sub him off early because he has a yellow card and you don't want him to be out for a further match, you want to be able to have, again, versatility at your grasp to be able to take a guy and go, hey, I need you to play over here, but I need this guy to come over behind you. And I need this to happen because that's going to create the shape that allows you to be great. And for me, I think the structure, again, I don't think I would adapt it for every single game. I would have my formation. I would have my preferred guys, but I'd also have, again, those variable plans of, okay, if I have someone who's weak at right back and they have a left winger who's one of the best in the world, how do I help that person? How do I help him be great? And maybe that's bring on some cover at the midfield so that we're starting to slow this person down before he gets to my weak point in the defense. Those are things that as a coach, you kind of got to figure out. But I think the structure needs to be there. Doesn't have to be a system, but it has to be a structure.
Who's amongst the players? Who's the leader?
I think, Tim Ream has been the captain since Pochettino took over, and Tyler Adams was the captain in the last World Cup. I would look at those 2 guys. Frankly, I would, if I were the coach, I would give the armband to Tyler Adams. I would never let him take it off. I think he exudes the personality of the team. He exudes the passion and the grit and determination of the team, and he's also the quarterback of both the defense and the offense. He's the guy through which a lot of what we do well goes. And so Tim Ream is great. Tim Ream, he has been a guy. It's funny, in 2022, he wasn't supposed to be on that team, but he just kept playing well. And no one was able to outwork him and beat him. And so that's what it's kind of been like now. And you're hoping, now that this is ultimately going to be his last World Cup because he's getting up there in age and towards the end of his career, who's going to be that guy that takes the next leap forward on the defense? But also from a leadership standpoint, I think Tyler Adams is the guy who is out front. He is the guy that answers the questions when things don't go well, gives you frank, honest answers about what the team is doing, what they could do better. And for me, I think he is the leader I also think, again, Tim Ream will likely have the armband, and he is equally deserving of that. But for me, Tyler Adams is the guy.
It's the guy. I'm glad you said that because he plays for my English team, AFC Bournemouth. So
they just drew. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Cool. So let's get into the actual Group D. Now, I don't know whether these times are Australian times or American times.
They are Australian times, yeah.
They're Australian times. Okay, so thinking about the whole group, should the US be thinking we need to win this group or just get through?
No, I think adding to that pressure that I said, the pressure is on to win the group. Nobody's asking, all the casual fans were asking, like, hey, are we gonna win this group? They're not asking if we're gonna finish third. They're saying, how far can we go? And I think with a 48 team format, it's very difficult to answer the question of how far do you think a team will go, because if you're first, that maybe is the best path. You'll get a third place team somewhere, but that someone could be Norway. It could be Cabo Verde. It could be Ecuador, which is, it's a wide range of teams you can get, but you have the path that is probably the most attainable. When you look at it, you go, okay, this path right here, I think we can make a deep run. If you're third, you're facing the first place team of some group, and it could be anybody, right? But you're probably getting a really good team. And so the focus, and I think the way that Mauricio Pochettino has approached it, I kind of asked him about this during the draw back in December. He said, these 3 games are 3 World Cup finals to us. We like, as the United States, we can't sit there and think that people are going to roll over and let us waltz over them, that we're good enough to be able to shake off a bad day and just destroy teams. This is a team that needs to understand that our backs are to the wall in every single game because of the pressure that is built up underneath us. So that is how they're going to approach it. They're approaching that opener as a World Cup final. Then when we face the Socceroos, that's going to be another final, and then Turkey is going to be the third final, and then from there they kind of assess what's next. So that's kind of how they should approach it, because it's a World Cup. You don't want to leave anything to chance.
No. I've been noticing with Paraguay, for example, I think they've only conceded 10 goals in the last 18 games or something like that. Something crazy. So they're a solid team, and they seem to normally be passed off as maybe as the dark horses or maybe people focusing on other teams and stuff. But Paraguay's there. I mean, they made the quarterfinals in 2010. I don't know. I guess a different squad now, but it's an interesting team to play for your first game. Do you think what do you think is the main challenge for this one?
I think the opener is going to be unlike any game we ever play because of the glitz and glamour and the pageantry that comes before it. And then also just there's going to be a lot of people looking around, looking up at the ceiling, looking at the grass, looking at each other, looking at fans in the stands, trying to find their loved ones, and really it hitting them when they walk out on the field that they've made it. They're at a World Cup. They're about to play in the World Cup of their lifetimes. And I think that is something that is going to, I would expect that game in the first 20, 25 minutes, like it's going to be cagey. Both teams are going to be a part of that. Paraguay is no different. When they hear those anthems, they're going to get emotional. I'm going to get emotional in the stands, hearing the anthem played, knowing that we're about to watch a World Cup game and watch our team play in it. That first 25 minutes is going to be about shaking that out of the system and eventually getting to a point where they realize that this is just a game, but they need to win it. And that's where we'll start to see the action. I think the key for that game for the U.S. is to be the team that shakes that rust off first. I think in these games, if you're the team, especially that first one, if you can get into it quicker than the other team, you have a distinct advantage, because if you can get a goal past them, that other team is shook. the U.S. has the building on their side. They have the country on their side, and now they can feel like, okay, we got a groundswell of momentum here. Let's use it to our advantage. While Paraguay would be the team trying to, get off of their back heel and try to get back into the match. So that's going to be the key there in my mind. Just kind of getting past the opening part of things and moving towards being on the field and playing it as if it's another international game.
And I noticed obviously Turkey went the long way round for qualifying because they had to play 2 extra competitive games. So do you think there'll be a pretty strong opponent against America if they've had that extra time, extra match preparation?
Yeah, I think, to be quite honest, they're the team that matches up well with us. They beat us in that friendly that I mentioned. We had a friendly in Hartford last June, where they beat us 2-1. We took the early lead in the rain, and then all of a sudden they came back and showed why they're a really, really tough team. Arda Güler plays for my team, plays for Real Madrid. He's come on this year, and even at his young age, he is being counted on as like the leader of that team, or one of the leaders of that team. And he's just a guy that could go off at any second. He's such a dangerous player because he is one of the young players who thrives so much off of getting a taste for goal. Like, he scores a goal and all of a sudden you're like, oh, floodgates are open. I can do this again. And he will. He's so many games where you could see the confidence in him build just because he saw something that he did great and go, I can do more of that. And he ends up doing it. So that's going to be a tough one. I think, obviously speaking as American here, I would love to win those first 2 where that game doesn't mean as much except for maybe seeding first or second. But I think that game being the last game, also going alongside Paraguay, Australia at the same time, again, you don't want to leave the chance. You don't want to walk into that game needing a win to preserve your chances of advancing. That's just something that the U.S. doesn't want to do. So they're going to have to take care of business. And then against Turkey, they're going to have to fight because that is a game that's going to have implications, and they want to be on the positive side of that.
Yeah. I mean, look, this group, there's no weak teams in this group. I mean, it's not called a group of death, but it's anyone. I think I'm just looking at any one of those teams can actually qualify. So that's really interesting. Okay, let's look beyond this group. What kind of opponent would you least want to see early on in the knockouts?
I'll take it one game at a time. Let's get out of the group first because I've seen the other side. But I will say, should we make it to the knockout stage, the type of team I don't want to see is a team that has a world-class elite striker, a guy that on any kick of the foot can absolutely destroy you. And there's a lot, and unfortunately in this tournament, there's a lot of teams that have those guys that and I'm not just talking about the Brazils and the Englands of the world. It's like Norway, for example, has Erling Haaland, right? Like, he can turn a game on his head in 5 seconds. And that is something where the U.S. has always struggled when someone has an opportunity to score, and because they're a world-class scorer, they do it. They've always had trouble against teams that have a guy that can, you gave me this little window of opportunity, take it. I'm taking it. And they do. So I would not like to see a team that has one of those guys that when you walk on the field, everybody in the stadium is like, oh no, that guy is starting. That guy is active. Now, if Erling Haaland wants to go and get a red card and render him out of action for that match, please be my guest. We'd love for that to happen. But I think those are the type of guys, the type of teams that we normally struggle against.
Cool. No worries. We're going to be wrapping up soon. Do you want just some of your best moments? Say, for example, what's a go-to story that you always come back to when people ask about away days?
Away days. There's nothing
maybe apart from the Paris game, because I know that one's up there.
Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing like an away game. There's nothing like it. it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 of you, or if there's 12 of you. I've been in some away matches where there's 6 of us. Like, it doesn't matter. It's so much fun to walk into another stadium and see an entire stadium look at you as if to say, "What are you doing here? why are you here?" And then again, them having a great time at cheering for their team, we're cheering for ours, and at the end, a lot of pleasantries and well wishes are made. It's I've never had a stadium where people weren't cordial after the game. I will say that of the away games on the men's side, there is absolutely nothing for a U.S. fan greater than walking into a stadium Azteca as the away fan against, arguably, I put USA-Mexico rivalry up against any on the planet, and people can feel free to disagree, and I will tell them that they are free to be wrong in their disagreement, because that game, when we face them, no matter where it is, especially if it's a World Cup qualifier, it's hands down one of the top 10 games on the planet. And I've been to Azteca 3 times. I've seen 3 draws. We haven't won there but once in the entire history of that stadium. And I have not seen them lose yet. So I don't want that to ever change. But going into those games, those World Cup qualifiers, where the entirety of the city, Mexico City, one of the biggest cities on the planet, every one of them before the day of the game, one of the greatest cities on the planet, will vacation there, will hang out there, breaking bread with the people, nothing short of amazing. Everything about that city is a 10 out of 10, except for that one moment when you walk into the Azteca and you see 100,000 people. Now it's 80,000 people looking at you and letting you know that you're about to have a bad day. But that's the beauty of the rivalry. That's the beauty of being an away fan. I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to away matches all around the world for the U.S., and every single time has been nothing short of amazing. All those trips are the memorable trips that we look back upon when we tell our friends, "Hey, you missed out on the great time. The next time we go on the road somewhere, you got to come," because it's such a great time. Some of the best people that I've met in my life, I met because I was like, "Hey, it's just 10 of us, right? Me, you, and these other people. We're going to go in here. We're going to cheer our team on against the opponent, and we're going to have fun doing it together." That togetherness is amplified when you go on the road, and strangers become brothers and sisters very, very quickly when you're on the road.
Wow, cool. One last observation. I noticed Fremantle Dockers scarf behind you.
Oh yeah.
Tell us the story about that.
So I've watched footy for a long time. One of the things that we have had in the United States is Aussie Rules has been something that has been on late night TV since I can remember. I think the first game I probably watched is when I was in high school. I'm studying high school, middle school, mid-90s, watching games at like 2 a.m. That were thrown on ESPN here, or Fox Soccer Channel would show them alongside A-League games. And so I always watched it, but I never had a team. And I just kind of watched the games to watch the games. I was trying to learn more about the sport, and I really enjoyed it. And when I came in 2017, my buddy, Chris, who was living in Perth, which is the reason why me and Evan came out there to kind of visit him, and while we were there to take 2 weeks to kind of circumvent the country. And before we got there, he goes, "Hey, I'm getting tickets to a footy match. We're Frio fans." And I was like, "Bet, that sounds good to me. Why Frio?" And he was like, "We don't like West Coast." He used other language, but he said, "We don't like West Coast." And I go, "That's all I need to know. I don't like West Coast neither." Funny enough, the first game we went to was at the cricket ground, Melbourne Cricket Ground. And at the G, we saw Hawthorn versus West Coast. And we're like, "Hey, we're going to go see the Derby." We saw the West Coast Derby like a week later. We're like, "All right, so we're room for Hawthorn here because they're facing West Coast." And then we're going to go to the Subiaco at the time, and we're going to watch the West Coast Derby. We're going to be in all purple. It's going to go down. And I've never looked back. And so I'm really enjoying Flag Mantle right now. They're doing well, 9 in a row. and I get to catch. Luckily, again, the access has increased, so we get most, if not all, of the footy matches here in the United States. They're at odd hours of the night sometimes, but I can record them, and if it's something that's in the middle of the night, I record them, and I can wake up before learning the score and watch the game in its entirety. But sometimes late night, the game's on at like 11 o'clock here, 1 a.m. here, I'll stay up and watch it. And it's been great to watch them play over the years. And hopefully the flag is coming to Optus this year.
Awesome.
But there's still a lot of season left. So we'll see how they continue to do.
Yeah. Awesome. No worries. Well, Donald, thanks for coming on. Can you let people know where they can find you and watch your read your work and stuff?
Yeah, so linktree.com/blazingdw will have a link to all of the various sites and podcasts that I do, but you can find me on social media at blazingdw, BLAZINDW. You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Come say hello, come follow the work. And as the World Cup happens, I'm going to be writing a lot and doing a lot of content around the World Cup, not just for the U.S. teams, but for so many different games over at Stars and Stripes FC, at the District Press, and some other irons that I have in the fire. So, Nick, I really appreciate you reaching out. It's been too long. I need to get back over to Australia and stay a little bit longer this time. Last time it was just a couple of days, so we didn't get to catch up during the Women's World Cup. But really, really, really glad that you have this platform, and thank you for bringing me on to be a part of it.
My pleasure, and I'll make sure that those links are also in the description in this YouTube video, so or Spotify, whoever who's watching and listening. So thanks for coming on, Donald. It's been a pleasure, and go Australia.
Go USA. Juneteenth is a very important holiday in this country. At least for me, it's very, very important to African Americans. But that is when our game is happening. So it's a great national holiday. If people are able to come through, we're gonna make it a good time, regardless of who you're rooting for. Aussies are so much fun to hang out with and be around. So I hope to see a lot of them in Seattle on the 19th.
Awesome. All right, we'll see you then.
Take care.